Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Grilled Steak Panzanella. Well, panzanella is such a fantastic salad because of its versatility. I mean, really all you have to have a panzanella is bread and tomatoes. In my opinion, some sort of dressing would be great. A lot of times there's some sort of onion or shallot. We're gonna see all of those things today, but we're also adding into the mix some grilled corn. We're gonna make a grilled corn and tomato vinaigrette. We're also gonna do some strip steak in there, so we're really gonna beef this thing up literally and figuratively. And it's gonna be an absolutely flavor-packed, great summertime panzanella. First thing we're gonna do is get some tomatoes in salt because we wanna draw out some of the water from the tomato that we can also use in the vinaigrette. So we're gonna start with some cherry tomatoes. I need about 2 cups of tomatoes total for this recipe. And I want a little variety, so I'm also gonna take some of this heirloom tomato. We'll cut into chunks. Throw those in there. A little variety. Variety in color and flavor. Always a good thing. All right, we'll call that about 2 cups. We're gonna add to that a teaspoon of our black garlic infused salt. I should have done all this down here in the first place, sorry guys. We're gonna start it down here in the bowl, and then we're gonna move it to the strainer so any liquid that comes out of it drips into this bowl, and we can actually utilize that for the vinaigrette. Next, we've got our bread, and we're gonna be using ciabatta for our panzanella today. Well, what I wanna do is I'm gonna split this down the middle. This is 8 ounces or a ½ pound of bread. And we're gonna grill this off so we can get some nice char on here, incorporate some of that grilled flavor, and then we'll tear and cut it into smaller pieces that we can dry out inside the grill while we're grilling our steak and everything else. Today we're cooking on the Yoder Smokers YS 640S pellet grill. We're running hickory pellets at 450 degrees, and I've got my grill grate set up right over the firebox so we can have some direct access to that flame. So bread's gonna go right over where that flame is hitting the grates. Also gonna throw some corn on here to start warming up. And I'm gonna take my baffle, which is all the way over here right now. We're just gonna move it all the way in. So it's concentrating all that heat right in this area. And now I've got this indirect zone where I can throw these on once they're cubed up to kind of dry out further as we're grilling on our steaks and finishing up our corn. All right, just a minute or two and we're starting to get some color on the bread here. Yeah, that looks good. We'll turn this around and kind of get a little bit more of that going on the surface, and then we'll actually tear it apart so we can fully dry these out. The reason I keep talking about drying this bread out so much is because we're gonna toss this all in a really flavorful vinaigrette. Now, if we do that when the bread's soft, it's just gonna fall apart. It'll be completely soggy. So we need to make sure this thing has some structure. That way it actually has a little texture to it. Once you bite into it, it's fully soaked in that vinaigrette. So bread's looking nicely toasted. At this point, we're ready to take that off. We're gonna go ahead and get our steak on. The steak we're cooking today is a Creekstone Farms prime strip steak. Really great beef right here. Beautiful marbling, especially for a strip steak. Just gonna hit it with a little bit of olive oil on the surface just to help some of this rub stick. And then we're gonna season it with our Cattleman's Grill Trail Dust all-purpose rub. So when I designed this rub for Cattleman's, what I had in mind kind of was a brisket rub base, but then kind of embellishing on top of that with some mustard seeds, different herbs and spices. But it still works as a great all-around seasoning for steak, chicken, veggies, whatever you like. I'm gonna move this right here. I'm gonna rearrange our corn just a little bit, starting to get some color on there. Just roll that around. All right, let's close this up and let it cook. So the bread we'll take and cut into roughly 1-inch strips. You can hear that great crunch on it, but the inside is still pretty soft and squishy, and we want to dry that out a little bit. So now we're going to take this and just tear it into pieces that we can load up onto a sheet pan to further dry out. With the tearing, we get a little bit more of the little crags in there, the stuff that vinaigrette can hold on to. Transfer this over to a sheet pan, and we'll throw it on the right side of the grill. So again, we're keeping this kind of far to the right because we've got this barrier right here that's going to keep the flames from really doing any harm. That way they can just kind of dry out while they're baking off to the side. Just giving that steak its first turn, and we can flip this as much as we like just to get all the color and grill marks that we want on it, but most importantly we want to take that internal temperature to about 120 to 125. Let's see how things are coming with the steak. Still right around 100. We got about 20 degrees, 25 to go. Our corn, we're getting some nice color on the kernels there. We're gonna let that keep going just a little bit too. We got great crust on this steak and the internal temperatures come up to 120, 125, so we're pulling that off. Our corn has great color all the way around. You can see how those are softening and starting to even burst a little, so we want to get those off before all that corn loses all that good juice. So we're gonna get these off, and then our bread as well, let's check. I mean, just a little bit of give in the middle, which honestly I'm okay with. So I'm gonna pull this off all at the same time. So we're gonna go ahead and take the corn kernels off the cob. I need to snag some of these to put into our vinaigrette that we're getting ready to make here. And the rest is just gonna get mixed into the panzanella salad. We're gonna make the vinaigrette right here in this mason jar. I'm gonna start with a ½ cup of extra virgin olive oil. Got 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. We're gonna add as much of this tomato juice as we've got, as long as it's not more than 2 tablespoons. Yeah, we're right at 2 tablespoons, that's perfect. We're gonna grab a couple tablespoons of our grilled corn. I'm also gonna add 2 tablespoons of minced shallots. We've got a clove of garlic here that I've just roughly chopped up. Now it's time to add some tang. We're gonna do that in the form of these pickled mustard seeds, the Triple Crunch from Kozlik's, just 1 teaspoon of that. I also want some sweetness in here to balance everything out, so a teaspoon of wildflower honey. For our salt component, we're just gonna add about a teaspoon of that same rub we used on the steak, the Cattleman's Grilled Trail Dust. So we're gonna bring this all together now with the immersion blender. We turn it into this nice creamy, kind of tangy and sweet summer vinaigrette, grilled corn vinaigrette. Just want to make sure we got everything broken down so you don't end up biting on a piece of garlic. Oh man, that's bright and tangy. Definitely catching some of that corn flavor in there. The tomato working everything back in together. It's creamy, it's bright, that's delicious. Let's put this salad together. We'll start with our toasted bread. We're gonna throw in our tomatoes. Okay, we'll add a few more things. How about some really thinly sliced shallots? Got some fresh basil. Of course, our grilled corn. A little bit of feta. I don't mean to ruin this salad for you guys by adding lettuce to it, but we are gonna get a little bit of arugula in here for that delicious, spicy, peppery green bitterness to it. And then of course, our last 2 things that we need to add are the steak and the vinaigrette. Also gonna cut this into kind of smaller bite-sized pieces so no one bite is overwhelmed by a single ingredient. Let's pour our vinaigrette in. So now the thing is, the bread needs just a little bit of time to kind of soak up all this vinaigrette and all this goodness. But the fun thing about this salad is you start eating it now, the bread's gonna be a little bit tough, but it's got some great texture and smokiness to it. And by the time you're actually done eating it, it's fully absorbed all of that vinaigrette. So it's softened up and you get a lot more of that vinaigrette flavor. All right, let's get a taste of this here. How's it so crunchy and juicy at the same time? It's crazy. The freshness is unreal. Raw tomatoes just like worked their way with the vinaigrette into the bread. So the bread's still got crunch around the edges, but it's holding all that flavor. Just that little bit of basil sets it off, man. I missed corn in that bite, so I gotta get another one. Nope, there's a little sweetness. Corn and steak. This feels bright, it feels summery. It feels great to eat and it's beautiful to look at. Give this one a shot this summer. Well, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.